Hey everyone, and welcome to the Class 1A podcast. We are here for episode 18 of season 6 of My Hero Academia, talking about so much information and lore about the Vestige State, the next big steps for Deku, and more. My name is Andrew Nimsgren, and I am here with James Graham and Dylan Beal as always. How are you guys doing today? How are you feeling after a semi-emotional episode? I think we talked about it before. It got a little bit to all of us, a lot more than we were expecting, despite kind of knowing the conversation was coming.
Yeah, I think it was a really tough episode, but like what really pulled me through was the fact that we got to see Kamui Woods' hair, and it is a fresh cut.
That caught me off guard too. I did love it too. I did not expect it to be orange. Like the leaves made sense, but it was like an orange kind of leaves as well. I guess it's during the fall, so I'm sure it actually changes colors throughout the year. And I love
it's not during the fall right now, because we actually do know what time it is in My Hero, and it is towards the springtime.
Oh,
really?
So his hair shouldn't be like that. Yeah, because this is at the point where it's at the end of the year for the school year. But Japan is weird because they start their school year at like the beginning of the year. And so we're actually not even in the fall. We should be like past Christmas at this point.
We didn't get a Christmas episode. I didn't get to see Eri with a big sword
got
again.
A sword. I mean, this is
Wait,
all
is
that still on the first year of UA? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, yeah, we're getting right to the end of the year. So technically, right now should be the start of year 2.
Wow. Okay. That is a mind bender.
Anyways, how did you like this episode, James?
I very much I love seeing like council shit. I don't know. Council shit with a bunch of like clashing personalities. I love that. That gets me every time. I need to see that in any medium. So I was thoroughly happy with this. And there's so many cool looking dudes in here. Like there's some character design. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I think it was phenomenal. Obviously, I know, again, we kind of did this last couple weeks, but a lot of these episodes have been super straightforward, very kind of lore and information based. So I'm not going to really even do much of a recap because the entire episode was 1, inside the Vestige State, which we're just going to talk about in detail here in a couple of minutes, and then 2, about Deku leaving, which we're also going to talk about in detail here in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to hold back on the recaps until more kind of action-y stuff starts happening here. And instead, I just want to start talking about the Vestige State that we've seen. I think we have definitely seen the Vestiges before. We've had a couple pop up here and there. We had them kind of save Deku almost during the battle, but this kind of council and being able to talk with all of them at once is something absolutely new, and we get a look at a lot of the users. So I know we kind of have a couple of topics, but Dylan, I'll let you kind of go off on whatever tangent you want to go off first. Rather it's the guys standing against the wall for no reason at all, rather it's the All Might and how the quirk works. Just whatever you want to talk about, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I kind of wanted to touch upon is just like, I'm still kind of racking my brain around how this Vestige State actually works, considering we have All Might in there and then also in real life. But there very clearly is a like, All Might is like not in his full form because he is still alive. So I don't know. That always like kind of confuses me, and I really want to know how it works. And I know it's anime, and we have to like squint our eyes a little bit and kind of look past it, but like I want to know, like, does this mean that like there is some sort of like soul in My Hero? Because like if All Might died, like the All Might that we knew, would his Vestige State just finish forming here? Which is really weird. And the thing that makes me think that is like he was like, oh, I can feel him talking to the Vestige State of me. But then also the other thing is like it's very common in like Japanese like humor or culture or whatever to be like when someone's talking about you, you get a physical reaction. Yeah. So I think in America for us, it's like our ears get really red, or our ears get hot.
Your ears are burning. Yeah, it's like
our ears are burning. But in Japan, it's the sneezing thing, right? Of where you sneeze, it's like, oh, someone must be talking about you. So I wonder if it's like kind of like that sort of type of reference, or if it's literally, hey, there is a soul within like the My Hero universe, and this is us kind of showing it. So I think the Vestige State is just interesting, and I'm a big sucker for lore episodes like this. So whenever they get into the conversation about like the cups and the fact that like One for All is such a great quirk that it will overflow someone's cup unless they're quirkless, and because society is moving towards a quirk singularity, more and more people are having quirks, and it's going to be harder for it to pass on. So it means like basically Deku is like the last of this line. I think that's really cool. The thing that kind of like makes me feel a little bit uneasy is they leave it open still. They're like, you might be the last user here. So it's okay, why would you say that? Like that makes me think you're planning something, Horikoshi. But what do you all think?
So the All Might thing, going back to that first, I mean, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. Obviously, he is still alive, but he was also the first non-quirk user to have it, as we kind of learned in this episode. So there's maybe a chance that he never becomes a full vestige in there because of the process. Is that they're talking about the consciousness imprinted in here, which is probably tied to one's quirk. But with All Might not having a quirk, he might not have that same tie to this vestige state because we really don't know how it works. So I don't think it's 1-to-1 that, I mean, I think it'd be a cool moment if like, oh, All Might died and then Deku gets to see him like one last time in the vestige state to end the series. I think that would be a very good moment, but I don't know. We just learned that obviously these last two holders have been lucky to both be quirkless, and All Might's the first one in the vestige state to be that. I'm assuming they confirmed that this episode, so that could be something as well.
What's really interesting, because it kind of clicked in my head when you said it, but like, I feel like we had this conversation in My Hero before of like, does somebody's personality inherently like make their quirk, or does their quirk kind of influence their personality? So like this could be the thing that like their quirk influences their personality because like that's their essence, right? Essentially like distilled. And so it makes sense that they're represented in the vestige shape because it is their quirk that's being held there. And then All Might is basically just the embodiment of One for All. So it makes sense that he is like, you know, sort of there, but like more of like this shining golden symbol. Which I also thought that was interesting of like, he is metaphorically this shining gold symbol, but like literally he is shining and gold within the vestige state.
Yeah, it's really weird to kind of like figure out what direction that this is gonna kind of take, because there is so many unknowns. Like Horikoshi really did just like there was a lore dump this episode, but like within the lore dump, it just opened so many doors regarding quirks and souls, regarding like the existence of a vestige state, like at all, and in a way that like this kind of council of previous users can kind of like meet and essentially like talk strategy and stuff like that. Like that is like, how does that work, right? Like
the last thing I want to talk about in my ramblings, but like also classic Horikoshi, just being the Star Wars nerd. Like, of course, the light side has like a council of masters or whatever teaching the Padawans or whatever. And of course, the evil side is the singular Sith and their apprentice. Of course, it's that way. I hate Horikoshi, and I hate how much he likes Star Wars.
I never made that. Oh my god, it is, dude. It's the Sith and the Jedi.
Yeah, and like they're vestiges, force ghosts.
Force ghosts, yeah. Wait, which one's Mace Windu then? Is that
Banjo?
Is it Banjo? It's
Banjo. It's Banjo. I love Banjo so much, man.
Yeah, Banjo's pretty great. Banjo's pretty awesome. Also, just like the lore dump behind like the rest of the users who were like, you know, fairly chatty, right? The fourth and Banjo, and then of course like the original user of One for All. Like it's really cool.
I love how like the fourth user is just like didn't do anything, didn't fight All for One or anything like that, but instead was just like, I'm gonna go out into the forest and just train the whole time. Like I don't know, like it's interesting because like that is such a good strategy. Like if they knew enough about like the quirk of like how it's a stockpiling quirk to just be like, okay, I'm just gonna gain power for like the next user.
Yeah, because he would have already been like alive when he basically got it passed on. So I'm assuming whoever like the third who passed it on to him would have been able to actually give him some degree of information, I guess.
The only thing he wouldn't have been able to tell him about is the like the cap on how long you live, because he was the one that discovered that. Because he didn't fight anybody and he was in the force training, he had the younger life. So I mean, on top of like getting the power, he also gained like that bit of knowledge about the quirk itself. So
speaking of the fourth though, like we need to talk about the two dudes in the corner, because like just like kind of dissecting each one that we know so far. Banjo is the sixth. No, Banjo is the fifth.
Yep.
All Might is the sixth.
Nana Shimura. Then
no. Okay. We're not going to even say their numbers because we're all completely wrong. Because Nana is 7.
Okay. But... Oh no, is Nana 7?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, cool. All right. Anyways, I'm trying to figure out where homeboys in the corners are like where these guys like fall into where they're at. I actually know with the flashback on the fourth, those two were there.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so
they're-
they're the earlier ones.
They're earlier.
Yeah, so they're second
They're
and
2-3.
third. Yeah.
They're 2-3. But why are they in the corner?
Yeah, why are they core not saying anything? Like,
Why can't we see who they are? Oh, okay. I'm just gonna say it. One of them looks like Bakugo from the back. I'm just gonna say it. He looks like Bakugo from the back. Everybody's been saying it. It just needs to be put out there, okay?
yeah,
His hair is a little bit darker, but
and like,
That's
okay,
too,
so
that lines up too well.
it. Okay, so wait, hold up. So I think all the quirks that Deku has managed to manifest, they're able to talk to him. So
No, Ein talked in this episode.
who did?
Ein, which was the one that Banjo passed on to.
oh yeah, we don't
he
know.
said a couple
Yeah,
of
we don't
words
know.
there.
Yeah,
And I guess the first doesn't really have a quirk, so that doesn't make sense either. But
he's the OG. So like we,
I know,
I
that's
think
fine. I
one-
did
but,
say a
like, this
couple
is
words to him.
Quirk. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
what
thing
this is
Quirk, yeah.
this whole thing is his quirk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So I guess we have one. Okay, then we just we have two
No,
moody
I
boys.
do think that has something to do with it, though, because I think they're even going on and talking about like, hey, people wouldn't have, we would have lost less people if we were able to interact with the Vestiges more. So I do think there is some kind of connection to it. I'm guessing that probably means that we're the closest to unlocking Ein's whatever his is going to be next, and that the second and third quirks are probably the farthest away from being activated. So I am guessing that's what it is. Banjo's talking the most, obviously Shimura talking the most, and then the fourth are the ones that talk the most. So I think that does make sense as they're the ones that have the quirks activated, and then all for one, of course, one for all. So I do think that actually does kind of line up, and that we kind of got teased of what number we're getting next, but we don't know what the quirk is next.
So I have a question for you boys. Is Deku gonna kill Shigaraki? Is he gonna actually kill him?
No. This literally just set the expectations for what the last episode will be.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think it still leaves it ambiguous because his line specifically says like, "I want to save him," but like, if killing him is the way to save him, I will do that as well. Like, I think it leaves it up to both actually, because like, I think the emphasis there wasn't like on Deku like solidly being like, "Oh, I'm just going to save him," but instead it was like, because he has this like twisted version kind of right now of what a hero should be. Like, I feel like he's like almost on the cusp of changing, but like right now for him, like a hero is a super idealized version, right? Like he's like almost like the toxic version of like what hero society is saying hero should be, because it's like All Might is the shining example, right? But like All Might's perfect. Well, like the public image of him is perfect. So like, is it good to just try to be that shining perfect version, or is there like a more realistic version? Because yeah, the realistic version is you should be a hero and save everybody, but that might mean you have to kill him. And I think that's what they're getting at there. Is like, I feel like
you can't save everybody.
Mid-arc Deku would have done anything just to save him, but he wouldn't have killed him. And I think if he's going to really find out what it means to be a hero, he might have to kill him. So I still think it's like ambiguous.
That's a gangster ass line though. Like coming from like like main character, very like vanilla Deku being like, "I'll kill him if it means saving him." It's just like, okay, that's pretty fucking hard, dude. Like, but no, I think it shows, which is I think in the recent couple, like maybe I would say the last 2 seasons, I think we haven't seen a ton of like actual character growth with Deku. Yeah, we've seen quirk growth, but we haven't actually seen like his mentality changing too much. It's basically just been like how he like looks at like fight analytics, how he like harnesses his quirks and stuff like that. But this is actually like him realizing, oh, I cannot always just be this person who saves everyone in the traditional sense, right? And so you see him now start to battle with that, which I think is like, at least for me, very, very refreshing. Like, I mean, Dylan, you and I have clung to Bakugo for so long because he's the actual only one where you actually do see like noticeable character growth, and they deliver it very, very well. But with Midoriya, it's been very like I don't want to say stagnant, but like
it has been though, yeah.
It's been a very, very slow incline of character growth. And now we're kind of like we're ramping up the bell curve right now, and he's kind of taking off a little bit.
Well, I feel like that's most shonen main characters though. How many shonen main characters really ever have growth? Tanjiro is going to be the same person until he dies. Naruto didn't really change the entire time. Luffy maybe a little bit, like in how long it was, but a lot
I'd
of these
say
characters,
I'd say Naruto changed like as he went
little
on.
bit.
That's the whole point behind the main shonen characters though, is like they have this like almost like perfect ideal within them, and the whole story is about like getting that ideal to other people, right? So like
Right.
Deku did have like, even though he didn't really quite know what it meant to be a hero, he still had like this pure hero's heart, and he's going to carry that until the end. So that aspect of him is never going to change.
Yeah, and we're just gonna see it, and I think actually they've done a really good job of that, of showing it like take form in other people, like Bakugo being I think one of the like the best examples of that, right? Having like, I mean, we saw it like what, like 2 episodes ago, like Bakugo pulling like the Mr. President get down, like this is so I'm so glad to see that we're getting it on like on both fronts. You're seeing the impression Deku leaves on people, and you're also seeing Deku be like, wait a second, I can't do my idea of this the entire time. It just doesn't work. It's not realistic.
Yeah. And I think hopefully this arc, we're talking about characters changing. This upcoming arc is probably the one chance for Deku to really change. I mean, we see kind of what the intro's been teasing for a while, and what a lot of us know as kind of the Rogue Deku arc is coming. It is here. And seeing what that's going to have an impact on him. Obviously, making that choice to leave behind all of his friends and how he cares so much about protecting people has now forced him to be in isolation. Seeing what that kind of does for him. I really think if he changes, this would be the moment of his change. If it doesn't change here, I think it'd be a missed opportunity, but I'm excited to see what happens. And are you guys looking forward to this, or what are your hopes for this arc?
My hopes for this arc is that stylistically, it stays kind of the same, because it's like a little bit like darker, like visually darker, and I don't know, like the colors of my hero in that dark palette, it looks really, really good. So
Yeah.
I'm aesthetically very excited for what's coming up.
Yeah, it got the Gears of War like coffee filter effect, but like it still has like some of that like kind of like bright colors it mixed in there too,
and they like kind of shine through.
It kind of shines. Yeah, it's super sick. I'm pumped for Vigilante Deku. He looks sick. He looks like a badass. Like, and like we never like, this is the first time we've seen him use the hood since like I don't know what, season 1, like
pretty much like the first training.
Yeah.
We haven't.
And this is a redesigned one still, so I don't think we've ever seen this version of the hood.
No, but it's still like the costume is essentially the costume's still essentially the same, but like. Yeah, you see the hood, and like it's not like the very like nice like welcoming eyes anymore. It's like these like cutouts, and it's good design.
It looks like he's been out there for. I mean, I think there's going to be a little bit of time jump even here.
Oh, there has to be a flashback. Yeah,
because I mean, Deku was already out kind of on there, and like I don't think the letters and the picture of the shot of where we saw Deku was at the same time, because Deku looked like he's already been beaten up and his whole costume destroyed. Obviously, they're probably a little bit beaten up after war already, but it doesn't seem like he's fresh out, like, oh, let's go on an adventure. Like, it looks like he's already a little bit more worn down. So I'm curious if they're going to fill in some gaps and really how long that time jump could be, just because obviously the world's in disarray. So too long of a time jump wouldn't be that believable. So I wonder if it's a week, if it's a month. Anything longer than that seems crazy.
Seems too much. I would say a month. Yeah, a month seems fair-ish.
I think at least a month, because last time we left him, he was like not waking up in the hospital,
and then now, full cast.
And then now he's like totally fine. So like there's got to be some sort of jump. Like obviously it's my hero, and they're at Central Hospital, which apparently just works miracles from all the people. Like they could just like show that people are kind of dying, but they're not actually dead, and bring people back. Like they do whatever they want there. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, and obviously the interview for Hawks too, he was no longer using a voice modulator. Which I don't know exactly how long that takes, but probably got to be a little bit of time to go from a voice modulator to talking. Isn't a day or two turnover.
I do have a little. Okay. What's gonna happen with him? Is he like out of commission? Like
no, his wings will grow back.
Will they?
He got burnt. He got burnt pretty bad.
My man's a burnt chicken. Like
I guess he just lost all of his feathers in the high end fight. But I don't know. I mean, they had to grow with his body as he got bigger. So I'm assuming they have growing capabilities. I don't know why they couldn't grow. I don't know. Like, you guess you don't grow a finger back. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm like because I don't think the regenerative properties of.
Can we get some aviation experts in here? We really need to know what's going on with the bird wings. Can they grow back? How much can you take off? Because feathers grow back, but like
There's no Eerie in any of this. Maybe Eerie came and saved the day. Maybe,
God, dude, we like the.
It has to come up every single time now because they left it open. Like, I don't want to bring it up, but how can Muriel come back with a quirk? But then if they sideline Hawks because of an injury that's like 2 weeks ago and Eerie couldn't roll that back, which seems like a less big of a deal, that doesn't make sense. It is Pandora's box. I hate that, but it feels like you can't take Hawks out. There's so few heroes now. Hawks has to find a way back in. So either they just explain he healed, or Eerie had to come into the picture.
Because it's like you can do that with like every one of them.
Yes,
like
I know.
You can do that with every. Oh God,
where's
damn
Muriel?
it!
Why have we saw Muriel throw 3 punches and the man has not appeared again? Like we didn't get to see him check like the big 3 like all happy together and recovered. We don't know if Tamajiki and everyone's okay. Like
maybe he's doing his own vigilante arc right now. He's out there with vengeance.
That would be sick. That would be sick if there's a time jump and we go back and say, hey, there's been these squads rolling around. Deku's doing his own. The big 3 are out there doing cool shit. Like I'd love
Tamajiki's just
I don't think that's
people.
gonna happen.
Like
yeah, fuck, go for it.
Yeah, I could
a lot of questions. I'm very excited to see what the Rogue Arc looks like, and maybe they've kind of maybe if it is a big enough time jump, there's other kind of people that followed after what Deku's doing and maybe out there doing it as well. So very curious to kind of see what that is. I think the one that Dylan, I know you have a fun fact before that. All for One is out there now. I mean, not to publicly. Obviously, Endeavor declined it. The news doesn't know about it. But everyone in the inner circle now knows about it. From classes to teachers to everyone probably knows about it at this point. Do we think that changes much? Or do we think that was just kind of the explanation of why Deku was able to leave without really a big moment? Like the note feels like a cop-out of what could have been an emotional moment between all of them, because obviously it does feel weird for Deku just to leave, but explaining and giving away his power obviously is a good enough reason to not stay there long.
Well, the way I kind of see that is like, I actually don't see that as like, oh, there's this big moment where Deku's on to his next thing and it's a good thing. This is probably a bad thing. Like, he shouldn't be running away from his friends that are there to support him. Like, it's a shonen.
I think the reason that Deku chose that medium is because he like we've seen it like time and time again where he's like a character who's very like moved by his friends, and I don't think like we all know that the rest of Class 1A wouldn't let him do this, and I think to prevent that chance from even happening, so we can kind of stick to like what his game plan is, he just has to remove that element. So that's why we're getting the notes. It also sounds like they were all like specifically handwritten for each person, because Uraraka had like her own iteration. So I'm really curious to know like what he wrote to each individual person. Like
I'd love to know what he wrote to Bakugo. And again, I really hope there is a time jump and we do see moments going back, because there's no way Bakugo doesn't chase after Deku, right? Like
it's fine.
If they're all recovered, like he barely allowed him to be in a hospital room by himself. Like some of those questions need to be answered. So I hope there is a time. Like the problem with the time jump is then it's all just flashbacks for episodes, which also isn't that fun always. So,
but it's new flashbacks, so it's not as bad.
So there's a lot of things we need to kind of balance out with that, because there's no way Deku could be gone for 2 months without Bakugo going and looking for him. So how is that dealt with unless someone kind of wrangling them in? But
I think with that,
Dylan, you said you had a fun fact or something?
I have a fun fact. So this episode ended with Deku overlooking the city, looking very down and out, and he says, "That's a big villain." And that is a callback to the very first episode, because the very first line that we see from Deku is that zooming shot of the big villain. He goes, "Wow, that's a big villain," but in this bright, cheery tone, an excited tone. And now we get the juxtaposition of him looking over the destroyed city, just basically down and out saying, "It's a big villain."
So like
I think that's really, I think it's so cool and it's so poetic and it's such a cool callback. And I remember seeing this in the manga, and Horikoshi is really, really, really good at those callbacks. He knows when to throw them in.
He also knows when to create a character that fucking reverses everything else too.
And something else that I don't want to dive in too much today, we can maybe do about it, or we can talk about it in a different video review. But it said the final act begins.
Yeah.
Right towards the end. So this was a big thing that happened a while ago in the manga. I'm sure even if you're just an anime only watcher, they did this, that they called the final act begins. To be clarified, it was not said it was the final arc, and that obviously the manga is still going like 2 years later after this came out. So there's still a lot going on, but that is what Horikoshi kind of said is his way to start kind of getting things wrapped up. That there's not going to be new villains or new like big story beats coming on. The problems we have here seems to be the problems that will be wrapping up at least the mainline My Hero from what's being said. So that's what our take on it from the manga side. Obviously, who knows? Horikoshi has changed the ending of the series like 3 times. I think he's publicly said. So we'll take that with a grain of salt, but that is something I wanted to mention as it's a pretty big thing to say in an actual episode.
Yeah, like My Hero's a 3-act series, and this is act 3 of 3. Is the best way to think about it.
Which could go for 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, who knows?
Yeah,
we'll find out and we'll deal with that as we get there. But with that, let's move over to the last thing of the episode, which is going to be the Plus Ultra Award, where each and every episode we decide on a character that went beyond, that went Plus Ultra. And James, let's hear your pick.
Oh, let's start with me. All right.
Gotta mix
it up. It's for me, this is a kind of a weird episode because again, we have like it's lore drop videos with like Plus Ultra are always kind of weird, but I think I gotta give it to Deku for basically seeing through Nanasumura's bullshit and this weird fucked up test that she gave him to see if like, hey, could you kill my grandson if you had to? And he was just, our boy is so pure of heart. He's so good. He's so, even if he is this twisted manifestation now, like he still has very hero ideals. So I think for that moment alone, even though there wasn't a lot of other moments in here, I think it's got to go to Deku.
Dylan?
I have to give it to Deku as well. The thing that really got me is whenever he's in the Vestige state, I don't know if it's like seeing like these idolized heroes in front of him, but like something always like he's got that dog in him, when he's there. And like for this one, it was him talking or him trying to talk and it's muffled. And then he starts getting so into it. You see his mouth start to form and the words become clearer and clearer.
Yeah.
And like every part of that, it's incredible. Like I guess like from like a show perspective, very cool. Like his voice is getting revealed or whatever. But like him in that moment, just like getting like you're seeing his true self being revealed in front of us, like both metaphorically through his like conversation and like physically. I really like that. He's a good guy. He's a good guy and a good hero. And damn it, we love him.
And he's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog.
I got nothing to add. It's Deku without a heartbeat. And I think it was great. I loved every moment of it. Yeah, it got me emotional. Deku we talking about a bland character, but I think all three of us kind of agreed we got a little emotional during this episode with that whole kind of speech by Deku. So I think that's really saying something for a character that sometimes we kind of put down for his one levelness. So I really enjoyed that. And I think it's no one more deserving. But with that, it is going to be the end of this week's Class 1A episode. Thank you all so much for watching or listening. We'll be back next week to do episode 19 as always. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you all